Welcome, welcome to the first episode, Starting the CEO's Bourbon and Business podcast, where the bourbon is optional. I'm your host, Will Marcus, and before we get into it today, and I introduce our lovely guest for today, I got to talk about what today's drink is. Today's drink, the bourbon of choice, will be a Basil Hazel. Hayden. Basil Hayden. I said that wrong. No, it's a Basil Hayden. It's Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey mixed with a lemonade. So before you get down, sit down and talk business with us. Make sure you pour you up a drink and enjoy. Now, today's episode, we got a very special person. Somebody that's near and dear to my heart. Been my best friend for 12 years. Still going strong. Still doing the damn thing. Miss MB, also known as Mariah Bailey. Mariah Bailey, the life coach. MB, the life coach. The owner of BAM. Your resume just goes on and on. But everybody, without further ado, welcome Mariah Bailey. What up, though? Shout out to the city before we get started, too.
Definitely. Shout out to the city.
West side, the best side, but,
that's debatable.
We're going to cheers to the city.
Cheers to
Detroit.
City.
Yes, ma'am. Now, that's good.
You're welcome.
Thanks. She was the bartender today.
You're welcome.
She was the bartender today. She made the drink. That was amazing. So Mariah.
Yes.
I gave them a little spiel that we've been best friends for 12 years and we still going strong. Mm-hmm. We're going to leave the future out. We're not going to tell them. We're going to just let them watch it and find out what happened from here. But
okay.
Let's talk about you. Bourbon and Business. You're the first person on the show. Thanks for coming out, first of all.
Thanks for inviting me.
So it's my pleasure, first of all. But it's enough about me. Let's talk about you and your origin story. So give us the origin of who Mariah Bailey is. They know you're from the city, Detroit, but how did you get here right now?
Okay.
If you can do it in the Cliff Notes version, because I know the real story.
Okay. No, for sure. Okay, so born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, the east side. The east side. But no, so born and raised on the east side of Detroit. Mom had me young. Dad, he also a young parent. Neither one of them had graduated from college. So my high school mentor, she really was like the determining factor for me even going to college, which is where we met. And so the biggest decision maker for me was, she said, you can find an HBCU to go to, or you can repeat your senior year of high school. That wasn't an option. Repeating my senior year of high school was not an option. And she had the power to do it. And so I was like, you know what? If I go to college and I decide I don't like it, at least I tried. But if I don't go, I'll never know. And so when I had that mindset shift, I was like, okay, cool, whatever. And so, and not so doing my research, I was like, look, my cousin went to Kentucky State University. I went there for their graduation. Seemed kind of cool. So whatever, I'll go. And filled out my application. My grandma had actually helped me with a lot of it. Got accepted and went to school, right? Mm-hmm. I think freshman year was when the strongest of the foundational things of who I kind of became set in. But being lonely, being somewhere where everybody is just as new as you are to adulting and figuring things out, and we're all trying to find our way and we're building our community. That in itself kind of helped to reshape and get out of the Detroit mindset of things and into the real world, explore things outside of your comfort zone type of mindset. Mm-hmm. And so in using that, leveraging that, we fast forward to sophomore year where I get pregnant with Reagan. Reagan's my daughter. And so now...
The coolest baby on this earth.
The coolest kid on the planet. And I had to start thinking, not just long-term in general, but long-term through the lens of somebody else is affected, like, immediately by my decisions. And so I was like, okay, cool. What does that look like? Well, college was the plan. I can't leave Kentucky without getting what I came here for. But I've never really had to see anything through as an adult. So what do I do? Because of the situation, the military made the most sense. Through a lot of negotiations, the Kentucky Army National Guard offered me the best deal, especially as a parent. And so I was like, okay, cool, let's do this. So go to basic training. I get back, get the house, get the car, get back in school, see what it is that I got to do that. And then my GPA, it's like a 1.7, 1.8 when I get back in school. So it's some work to do. But I grinded that out. And again, that came from not just that foundation, but like reinforcing that with the military and what basic training had really brought out of me. It challenged me in all aspects of who I kind of become, which is how I was able to kind of push through that second portion of life, if you will. And I was able to not only pledge the greatest sorority, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
I like my D in front of my S. My S in front of my T. Oh,
If you know, you know.
it's so sweet to me.
I love my DST.
Shout out to 1913.
Definitely. Big shout out to the sorors. But
The Noops love the Reds.
the noob should love the Reds. But yeah, so with that, I was also able to graduate, but also taking some of those foundational principles and some of those reinforcing components into that next phase or that senior phase of transitioning into adulthood is what I would call it. And then I was able to graduate with like a 3.24. And I got recruited for a government contract shortly after graduation, which brought me to the DC area. And I started doing my thing in government contracting, and then had this idea called Black American Market that started as an app that was going to be a mental health support app, which then through something that a mentor had told me, which was, why try to be the best store in the mall when you can build the best mall that all the best stores want to be in? And I reframed the idea. So it was, why would we only focus on mental health when we can address a larger problem, which is connectivity between resources and solutions in the Black community, and in partnership and different tiers and layers of partnership, we can build out that foundational hub, as well as partnering with other hubs and organizations who are doing something similar to us to reinforce the overarching message of there's a place for you and services for you and providers who can not just service you, but service the community and bring us all together. So yeah.
That's nice. That's deep. So there's a few key things you talked about, and more importantly, I want to focus on the mind shift, but I also want to focus on BAM, kind of tying into my next question.
For sure.
So, like, tell us more about BAM. Like, what's the vision? Who do you serve? You know, all that. But then also talk about how that mind shift, like, played a role in, like, setting up a business, being an entrepreneur, you know, being a mom, being a service member, being a government contractor. You know, you got so many hats that you put on. You know, we always talk about, like, those hat switches that we have to do. But talk about that.
Sure. So I think the biggest thing to accomplish in anything is first the belief and the confidence that you can. And oftentimes we get stumped at the transition between the idea and the steps that it take to bring it into fruition. And so with anything that I did, becoming a mom was scary. Going to college was scary first, but I think I became more concerned with the fear of what I would never become versus the anticipation of what this could turn me into. And the first tier to that mindset shift was, if I never go, I'll never know what it's like. If I go, whether it works out or not, I can always come back home. And so when I got into that space of transformation, when it came to school, it then transitioned into motherhood. And it was like, okay, with being a mom, doing it is going to be hard. Not doing it is also going to be hard. But I can choose to create a new normal. And so I made that decision when it came to having Reagan. And I knew that every day would be new, because every day that you live is something new. But doing it with somebody that depends on you creates a different level of responsibility. And it kind of aligns with the saying, how you do anything is how you do everything. So how you parent, how you show up for yourself, how you show up in school, how you wake up, how you position yourself for the day. I saw a pattern in all of those things. And the common theme that came out of that, especially in how other people describe me, and not just how I describe myself, was the determination and driven. And so I took determination and driven into, I have to be intentional about my mindset shift. I have to be intentional about doing the thing. I have to be intentional about refining myself. And I also have to be intentional about being of service to others. And so when Black American Market became the idea that had to come into fruition, it was, does this serve others more than it serves me?
Yep.
Does this create a better world for us to exist in? Does this solve a problem? Does this have more positive impact than negative impact on the trade-off of having it versus not having it? And that in itself segued into a yes, regardless of the obstacles that I would face in doing it. So hopefully that answers your question in terms of the mindset shift.
It does.
And how it applied in all aspects of who I kind of become.
And that mindset shift. I get tongue tied with these braces. It sounds crazy. But now, how did that play into your business? Like, tell people like I know what BAM is, but imagine you talk to somebody off the street. One of our viewers, not even somebody off the street, one of the viewers of the day, they want to know about BAM. Give them the summary of what BAM is.
You definitely did ask that before you asked about the mindset. Not only
it kind of played into each other, but it's cool. It makes sense. I mean, it was like it was two questions in one. I could have broke it down to two different questions.
For sure. No, but it's fine. That's what we're here for. So Black American Market aims to revolutionize the way that we see and do business with other Black businesses. And what does that mean? It means let's highlight the Black excellence, not because they're Black, but because they are excellent and often underseen, underserved, under-resourced. Not even always because the resources aren't there, but the connection between how do I get to the resources. We don't know what we don't know, and we don't know to find what we don't even know that we need. So if Black American Market becomes that one-stop shop where you have the idea and you need the business coach or the life coach that, you know, gives you that extra push behind what it is that you're doing to go to those next steps. And now you're ready to connect with those business resources, but you don't know what business resources you need or which ones are available to you. We can then bridge the gap for that for you.
Okay.
And then the awareness piece, we have a whole Black business directory. Whatever it is that you need, you can find it there, to include other Black business directories. Why? Because they may have or offer something that we don't directly. And those are some of the things that you may need too. And so I think I even remember us having a conversation where it was like, talking about like podcasts and speaking platforms. And it was like, well, I don't really want to step on your toes. And it was like, well, if you're being of service to people, why be on one platform when you can be on two?
Right.
And multiple touch points equals multiple exposure. And then from the business standpoint, the best known will always beat best product. So how do we get you to be a best known product? By multiple points of contact in your exposure.
Yeah.
And that's what we really want to do.
That's deep. I love it. I love the shop. I can't wait till we open it back up. I'm not going to say nothing. I know we've been holding that off, but I can't wait till it's open back up. I love the redesign of the app and everything that's going on, even the relaunch of the website, the rebranding and everything that you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Because the viewers don't know that you was inside the mall at first.
Yeah, they don't.
So you were in Potomac Mills Malls. You took a hiatus, and now you're bringing everything back in 2025. And now, more than anything, that's needed with all these different politics and everything going on and the whole dismantling of like DEI and minorities. This is really needed. So We
Definitely.
appreciate you for that. Shout out to you.
Definitely. Shout
But
out to you.
kind of talking about that, let's navigate this into the places that's not so beautiful in being an
Okay.
entrepreneur and being like a CEO. Tell us about a challenge and how you overcame it being an entrepreneur.
Ooh. Okay. So I even say, like, with that, the biggest challenge was even deciding to commit to Black American market.
Mm-hmm.
Reason being, we are serving a community that often gets a bad reputation.
Right.
And it's almost like, if I could be candid, I think the real reason why we get such a bad reputation is because you kind of have to put us in a space where we can win.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a bunch of us trying to figure it out the best way that we know how.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people finding pieces to the puzzle and putting pieces of the puzzle together. And then when it comes time to connect those pieces with somebody else that's figured out another piece, because there's a piece missing here that makes it all seamless, it gets a little distorted sometimes. And we think we're further from the solution than we really are.
Right.
And so when you take all of that into account, I know a lot of mental health professionals can relate to this. Some people aren't bad people or difficult people. They're misunderstood. They need redirection. They need guidance. They have misplaced anger, misplaced frustrations, and don't really know how to make those situations that worked against them work for them. And so with that same mindset, pursuing Black American market had its own difficulty because of that stigma that came with it. And not that I felt it. It was the challenge of not just presenting Black talent through the lens of we're presenting Black talent that services everybody. We're just highlighting an underserved demographic. But it was also overcoming the stigma of what comes with being a Black business. So we are the advocate for you, with you, and then we're the advocate for you as the third party partner in your business, so to speak. So that is probably one of the biggest hurdles. And committing to doing that came with its own frustrations, because I too also had to go through those lived experiences
Right.
that all entrepreneurs, and especially Black entrepreneurs, face, which I think made and makes our platform even more credible, because it's coming from lived experience, not strategy or a hypothetical situation that has all of the best case scenarios.
Or no theory. Yeah, it's real life.
Exactly.
It's nice. It's a nice way to put it too. But still, I think a common theme that we can see across the board with the first couple of questions is how important mindset
For
is, and how
sure.
much you have to have that mind shift and mindset to know I'm gonna get it. I think that's one of the best things from people from Detroit. We got that grind, go get it mentality.
Listen,
I'm gonna get it. Hustle.
Detroit breeds some of the best hustlers in the world. I don't care what nobody says. I've been to different cities and they may have a hustle about them, but if you really look at what puts some fire between them and separate the weak or the underdeveloped from the people that's really getting it and shining it, they got somebody from Detroit that they had come in contact with, or they had been to the city and saw something and learned something.
And took it back.
Detroit is so influential in so many ways. And even to the transparency and association between Detroit and Black American market is so much underdeveloped talent and so much undiscovered potential. Not because somebody else didn't realize it in you, but because in order for it to actually become anything, you have to believe it and become married to it first. It doesn't matter how anybody else sees you, how anybody else views you, or even how anybody else believes in you. Having all the right tools, being misused, they become broken, dull, unusable, unsalvageable. And in some cases, you come across people who are willing to refurbish what you have in your toolbox and to show you how to turn it into something beautiful. But in some people, unfortunately, it's too late. Not because they're a lost cause, but they lose their life or they end up in a situation where they just are not able to pursue something that could have been pursued a long time ago if they had believed in themselves first. So getting out of that stuck mindset and marrying yourself to everything that you can be, even if you haven't seen it yet, is something that you have to do first.
That's deep. You ever spin bars, gems, gems of a sort, I should say. But that's always what you do, right?
That's what
That's
they
what
say
you
I
do.
do.
That's what you
That's
do.
what they say I do.
Okay, so now since you're dropping bars and gems like this, let's hop in a time capsule, maybe a time machine. Let's go back 10 years from now, right? What would you tell Mariah Bailey from 10 years ago if you had to give her some guidance? What would it be?
It's actually funny you mentioned that because 5 years ago I started dancing with an idea of a book where future me, if I didn't make certain decisions, is having a conversation in opposition of the me who I am now with me from years ago.
Is this the book that is being released right now, or
No,
that's
butterfly. The
different?
butterfly effect is being released right now. This one is still kind of in development.
But the butterfly effect, because I read that one. That I guess it's not really similar because that one talks more about evolution in a sense.
Yeah. So the butterfly effect has a focus on transformation.
Transformation, evolution. Yeah,
And
okay.
yeah, but it's not necessarily tied to me specifically. It's tied to the journey. So it's written from the perspective of when you're in this phase of life, how do you handle this? And it kind of goes through those phases that a caterpillar would go through from a first person standpoint as a metaphor of how we navigate life.
How we evolve.
Yeah, the book that I'm talking about, it is honestly what I'm answering in the question that you asked.
Okay.
And so you asked what I would tell myself 10 years ago. The first thing I would do is say thank you for the decisions that you made and the tears that you cried on behalf of us getting here. Thank you for trusting the me that you never knew you would become, for the vision that I had for us, and trusting me enough to commit to it even when it didn't make sense to you. And you are exactly who God said you were, and God says you are, but you are also exactly who you believe you are, regardless to what it looks like right now. And you'll see that later if you stay the course. The only thing that I would tell you to do differently than what I'm doing now is to do it sooner, faster, and with more conviction, because you have everything that you need.
I'm getting chills over here. That's nice. That's dope. Dang. So you said speed, conviction, and what was the third one? Speed, conviction.
Do it sooner, do it faster, and yeah, do it sooner, do it faster, and do it with more conviction.
Yeah, sooner, faster. Speed kills.
Yeah.
And conviction definitely
I think what it was,
pushes you.
I was dancing around with all of the potential that I had, and I didn't really believe in it. It was like, I feel like I could do it, but battling all of the naysayers, not even externally, but the naysayers in my mind.
I just, because I listed 3 things, but I lumped time together. But low key, you use time as 2 different things too.
Yeah.
Because do it sooner, which means like get out your own head, do it today.
Yeah.
And while you're doing it today, be quick about it. Don't keep like playing around or stretching it out, and then have that conviction and that drive behind it.
Yeah. The reason why time is so important and the advice I would give myself is because time is so important, period. We know everything we've done before. We don't know how much time we have to do everything else. And everything that I've been able to do between where I am now and who I was 10 years ago, I probably could have done
even more
by 25 had I really focused on, yes, I can do it. This is the stuff I need to do today, and I'm going to knock this out. This is the stuff that I need to plan for so that I can do these side by side in tandem with each other. And I don't care what anybody says. I can do it, and it's going to get done.
No, that's facts. You know, like, not only are you talking to a lot of our viewers today, but you're talking to me too, because, like, that's a conversation I had to have with myself, especially with this. Like, I've been doing photography and videography for about as long as we've known each other. And I've been always talking about, you know what, I'm going to get on this side of the camera this year.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, oh, no, next year or next month or next week. And I keep pushing off. I got 12 years of pushing off of being on the side of the camera. And it's till now, today years old, that I actually got on this camera.
You know where a lot of that comes from?
Where?
The anticipation of what's going to go wrong and how we view our imperfections versus how other people will receive our authenticity.
That's true, because I know I'm a perfectionist.
Yeah, so we sit on this side so worried about being perfect and pronouncing the words right, and, you know, how is this looking?
How your voice sound, how you look.
And the thing is, the first version of everything is the worst version of it. But if you can commit to doing it the first time, know that that's your baseline of the very worst that you can do with this.
And it's going to
Which
get
means
better from there.
If you commit to it, it will only incrementally get better. Incrementally is the key word there, because we marry the vision. We don't know how much time it's going to take for us to really touch that end goal of what we're envisioning. And also note that the vision, it always moves. So as you accomplish something, you add another checkpoint on the other end, because now you can see further and you can see a bigger picture. So we'll put stuff off because we're worried about things that can only get better if we do it the first time.
Stop talking to me like that. Giving away all this free game stuff today. I love that. But I have this thing that I say, and it's like, you know, I don't believe in like having a 5, 10, 15-year vision and stuff like that. I believe in like having a bigger vision, then having goals that's going to be able to change, because you can have a vision, but the man upstairs, he's funny. I tell my friends all the time, like, that guy's hilarious. Like, you would think, like, let me tell you like this, like, you would think you're doing one thing, and that can be the vision and the goal that you had at that moment, but the path that you take or he has you take can lead you somewhere totally different. Like, prime example, like, I never expected myself to be a PhD student. Like, I would never thought of that. I never saw myself going past getting a bachelor's, but I have a master's now. I never saw myself joining the Army, but now I joined, retired, and this. You feel me? Like, God has, he allows us to see a vision. He allows us to see where we want to go. You know, he puts it in front of us and he lets us take our paths and take this course. But then, like, ultimately, that final vision might not be what you saw like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even 1 year ago, you know?
Yeah.
And it just changed so much. So, like, I think with being an entrepreneur, like, your spiritual and physical health both play a role in, like, you being a successful entrepreneur, right?
It does. And can I say something to what you just said really quickly? So, even to our vision, sometimes not necessarily lining up with God's vision, biblically speaking, it says that God will give you the desires of your heart, right? And so, in giving you those desires, sometimes he'll place a desire on your heart that will get your feet moving so that he can get you in a different position. Example, if you ever woke up and you was like, oh, I want Buffalo Wild Wings. You look at the time, you're like, I need to get out here. I'm going to go to Buffalo Wild Wings right now and try to catch them before they close. You get there, they closed early. But it's a restaurant across from them that you never realized before. And you was like, okay, whatever, I'm hungry. I'm just go in there and see what they have. You get in there, you sit down, at the table or at the bar, and you end up having a conversation with somebody that ends up being a business connection or a lifelong friend after that. So one desire that would have got your feet moving is what positioned you for where God needed you to be ultimately. So I think, to speak in the vision, we have to be married to the vision and have that conviction behind it, but also be flexible that sometimes we're only given enough of the vision that's going to get our feet moving, because if he gave us the bigger picture, we would get in our own way. So
I would
yeah,
agree.
I just wanted to speak to
No, I
that real
definitely
quick.
agree. And we definitely we've had conversations about that, because we talked
Sure.
about how, like, we both got accepted to different schools other than Kentucky State. Like, I got it. At the time I was leaving Michigan, is when when we was leaving Michigan,
We
they
could go
started
anywhere
that
in the
program
state
in
for
the state for
free
free. Like, we could have went to any school for free
and didn't choose
and
it.
then choose it. We chose to go to HBCU, and outside of that, we ended up meeting each other when we did, had our friend groups, made our own decisions, still aligned, and let them know you was the first person to take me home
Yeah.
to Detroit.
Yeah.
I hopped in y'all car. I was like, yep, we going home.
Yeah.
And like, those decisions that we made refine like who we are, and it kind of builds like on our story, but still is like God needs us in those places.
Yeah.
And us to make those connections, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, for somebody else's story, not just our story, but somebody else's story, to also go further. So it's just like, it's crazy when you think about it. Like, I just, my thing and my belief is God just be upstairs looking at us like it's a soap opera.
It is. It's almost like knowing, like, it's like a Moesha versus the Parker storyline. I'm the main character in my story, but I'm a supporting character in yours.
You're a main character.
Kim, hear me out. Kim was a main character, but Moesha was the main character. Kim was a supporting role in her life. But when the Parkers came out, Kim was the main character,
The Parkers.
and Moesha was a supporting actress, a supporting role. So it's telling the story of two main characters through a different lens.
Right.
And it allows you to see certain things differently when you think about it that way.
Yeah.
And I think it also allows you not to take certain things personal as you navigate relationships in life, and even your own growth from a mental or spiritual health perspective, to know that everything that's intentional to us is not done intentionally to us.
Yeah. That's good. I like to say this too, and this is totally off, but like, I got the thing that, like, okay, I don't weigh people as good and bad, because in everybody's story, somebody is the bad guy.
Yeah.
In a sense too. But that's a whole nother topic. And we can have a
Superman
whole...
is the bad guy to everybody who he was in opposition with.
Yeah.
The hero to the majority is the villain to the minority.
Ooh. Come on now. Oof, that's tough. That's a whole episode that we could talk about though.
It
So
is.
we can table that.
Though.
Because like, I just got so many things that just went across my mind, but we're gonna go back
for sure
to the original question.
Okay, cool. Shoot.
So, spiritual and physical health are big components of being a successful business owner and entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
How do you tap into your help? Wait a minute.
You're trying to think how you want to ask it?
I'm asking, I want to see how I want to ask it. So, okay, so spiritual and physical health are big components of being a successful business owner and entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
How do you tap into those respective areas for your help, so it can make sure you're good, which in turns makes sure your business is good?
For sure.
So how do you spiritually and physically help yourself to then help your business?
Sure.
Which is helping the community.
I think the first thing to recognize is that your physical self will follow whatever ruling piece of yourself tells it to do. Meaning, if your emotions are more dominant than the control that you have in your mind or your spiritual discipline, then whatever you feel will determine what you do that day, how you move that day, how you talk to people, how you navigate relationships, right? if your mind is stronger than your emotions and your spirit, you may make a lot of logical decisions, and your body will adjust to everything that you do logically until something doesn't make sense, and now you stuck because you can't figure it out. And now you in a conflict. You feel like you can't get out of whatever you in. Here's why spiritual health is more important. And if we had to tier them, I would say spiritual, mental, emotional, and then physical. When your spiritual health, your spiritual self is disciplined and aligned to the source, which you knowing that you are a resource, then regardless to how you feel, you'll do it anyway. Regardless to whether it makes sense or not, when you get direction to do something or an unction to do it, and you do it anyway, and you yield the results, or it opens up a mental block that you have because you were able to hear from your spiritual source, you'll be able to overcome those mental hurdles that can stump you if your mental self was over in that hierarchy. So the reason why that's important is your spirituality and your spiritual health will guide your decisions above your logic. Again, something biblically that I live off of is knowing that my ways are not God's ways. My thinking is not his thinking. And what I deem as me being smart and wise, my wisdom is just pure ignorance to him. Because I still don't know, even with as much as I do know, I still don't know anything. So living with that mindset, I always rely on the source for any and all decisions that I make. With that, your spiritual health and your spiritual discipline will tell you that your body is a temple and you're to take care of it. A lot of people cut their life short just because they don't take care of their temple. It's what you put in it. How do you take care of it daily? What sources you're using to fuel it and feed it through the day. Fasting is important. Why? Because you'll have certain cravings for things that might not be good for you. So it's learning how to say no to your body and let your body know, I'm in control of you. You don't control me. And I think balancing those two, knowing that my spiritual discipline has to take precedence over my mind, will, emotions, and my body is going to follow because my spirit is getting instruction and my mind is strong enough to tell my emotions, regardless to how you feel, this is what we doing because we got instruction from somewhere other than myself, and our body is going to follow.
Right. Ooh, I like that last part you said, because I don't want them to think like that you being contradictory because we have the nice little cocktail while
Oh,
we're
no,
doing
for
this.
sure.
But I think with that physical temple, it's just everything's in moderations and being able to understand that you're in control and you don't become a dependent of those things.
Exactly.
Like whether it's drinking, drugs, sugar,
Yeah.
it's so many addictions that you can have, but you got to understand that you're in control and let your body know who's in control.
Exactly. And that's why I think that that's important to mention, because we all have our guilty pleasures. Some people, it might be sweets. Other people, it might be, alcohol, a drug of choice. Even for some people, the gym is an addiction. Work is an addiction. Whatever your thing is, everything that you do has an effect physically on your body. If work is your main focus and you work from home, or you have like a sit down job, you sitting down every day and not getting active, even if you don't touch alcohol, are you drinking water? Are you
working out? Are you still
like
moving
what
around?
are you doing to move around? Because that can then catch up with you and catch up on you. If all you do is work out, yes, you might spend a lot of time in the gym and taking all of the right supplements or whatever, but then you get into a body that you love. So you end up in a body that you love, in a lifestyle that you don't enjoy, and you struggle to find that balance between understanding that you control your body doesn't control you. So I think that that's why it was important for us to talk about moderation.
That's good, yeah. So before we go into the last question, we close this out, I got a little game I want to play.
A game?
It's a slight game.
A game?
It's a game. It's not gonna be like a real game, but
Okay.
it's called Entrepreneur Hot Seat.
Ooh.
You gotta hurry up and think about the question, spit it out. So it's caused you to think quick and spit it out.
Okay.
I don't want you to sit on it too much. You just gotta hurry up and
Okay.
get it out there. All right.
All right. Cool.
So, if you had to describe your business philosophy in 3 words, what would they be?
Community, discipline, and resources.
Okay. If you could have dinner with any entrepreneur, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Jay-Z. And reason being is because he has navigated multiple industries and figured out how to stair step those to his benefit long term.
That's a good answer. What's one mistake that taught you a valuable business lesson?
One mistake that taught me a valuable business lesson was in financial allocation. Being financially responsible the first time and frugal and planning, not just at a quarterly basis, but planning intentionally for the long term. And dry seasons will position you to be sustainable long term.
Okay. If you had to start a new business today, what industry would you choose?
Marketing and consulting, because people always need somebody to be a sounding board and they always need amplification.
Okay. All right. What's the one book, podcast, or resource every entrepreneur should check out?
Boss Moves by Myron Golden. And if you look in my Instagram bio, you can get it. Click the link and go get it.
Definitely. Okay. So now that you talked about Instagram, I guess that'd be a good way to close us out. So give our viewers one piece of wisdom and tell them where they can find you.
Okay. One piece of wisdom. You can accomplish anything you can imagine. If you can see it, you can do it. And it might not be tomorrow, but it will be eventually. If you stay committed to the long term and not just where you are currently. So I think that'll probably be the piece of advice that I would give. And you can find me on Instagram, personal Instagram, mb.thelifecoach, and our business Instagram at Black American Market. You can find us there. You can download our app. And if you want to connect with me more personally and see about some life coaching, you can reach out to me at MB Enterprises, which is also in the link in my bio on my personal Instagram.
Yes. So we would definitely have her information linked below. Shout out to you, MB. Love you to life, Mariah.
I love you to life.
And cheers to being the first person on my podcast.
Cheers.
Appreciate you. Cheers.
Yay.
Y'all heard it here first. This was the first episode of Sergeant to CEO. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you come in next week. We'll have another entrepreneur here talking about their vision and their goal to entrepreneurship. And just remember, you're only one step away from being the entrepreneur that you deserve to be. So get up, get moving, and get it done. You got the vision, you got the plan. Now let's make it happen. Peace.